Hey everybody, Armand here, Chi Skills. Today is podcast time again, and we're looking at the 5 elements today, and we're going to explain them through a case study, a transformation of a person, and this person today is Didi. So, yeah, that's going to be awesome, right? A little bit of history and the transformations we went through, and of course you went through, but we cannot really separate that. So let's start to look at the 5 elements first, right? We do a short introduction of the 5 elements, and then we move into your story.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here, for people just listening, I draw all the 5 elements on the board. So we'll go through them. So we start with fire element. That's on the top.
Yeah.
And then we go to earth element. We have metal element, water element, and wood element.
Yeah, and that's like a counter. That's no a clockwise motion, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what do they stand for? What they represent is a cycle of change. So you go through phases, and this is basically observing energy and how it represents. And so this is...
And how it grows through changes. So I think one of the most easiest ways to understand is maybe the seasons, right? If we move through seasons.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's not a hard shift per se, right? They go from one into the other, and there's a flow.
Absolutely. So you can see it as the elements, you can see it as phases through life, you can see it represents nature and how nature behaves. But it's also how, if you put it on a person, you can see that it represents the organs, the emotions, the phases where you're in as a person.
Okay, so we have a cycle, we have more, the change, but we also have a balancing out, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah. So it's a holistic view of a person. So if you see that the fire element is like a mother to earth element, and the earth element is a mother to metal element. And what does that mean? Mm-hmm. That like earth element will, when metal is a little bit weak, earth element will step in and say, okay, I'll give you some of my energy.
So it provides for a metal element. Okay, okay.
And the other way is that so these are the lines on the outside. So all the elements are mothers.
It's more like a feeding cycle, you could say, right?
Nurturing.
Nurturing,
Nurturing cycle.
Yeah.
But then you see there is another lines in the middle. So earth controls water.
Yeah.
And water controls fire. So if fire, for example, if fire gets too heavy, then water says, okay, I do have to control you a little bit.
To tone it down. Yeah. So these are opposites for people just listening. You know, we have a circle, but we also have a sort of star in the middle. We have opposites, right? Although it's 5, there are opposites here. Yeah.
So, and earth controls water. This is an easy one. Water controls fire, but earth controls water. For example, if water doesn't have any boundaries, it will just leak away. So water will...
Yeah, so it can be contained in earth to sort of control it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And with all of this, if it's a nurturing cycle or if it's the controlling cycle, it shows how everything interacts. So if you have a disbalance on one element, all the other ones will shift as well.
Yeah, they influence everything.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
If for a short time something is off, the other ones will step in until that element is all right again. But if it's a long-term thing, the whole system gets weakened.
Wow, and this is very important, of course, and we're going to go through that in a while with this case study, of course. But it's so beautiful, right? You're looking at it. There's this nurturing cycle, this controlling cycle. There's this balancing out of everything. Yeah. Wow. So where do we step in?
Okay. So let's go back like about 10 years ago.
Okay.
It was in a phase where, I had quite some imbalances, and most important, what is calling out the most. So for me at that time, one of the most obvious things was that I was always cold.
Yeah,
You
I remember.
I was always cold. So um, being cold, that would be here.
In the water element.
Yeah. And it also represented in the digestion area, cold. Not enough energy, not enough to digest well.
Okay, so that's in the earth element, right? The earth
Yeah.
element is all about
Well,
digestion.
digestion.
Really,
Yeah.
yeah.
And water element is kidney and the spleen. It's also, it doesn't like to the cold on that element, because always cold, always having to go to the toilet during nighttime.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's one of the symptoms, right?
Yeah. So your system wants to regulate. And when you're too cold, it says, well, we'll get rid of some water so you warm up a little.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're warm enough, you don't have to
You
do
don't
that.
have to do that. No. Okay. So yeah,
So
the earth element is about spleen, stomach.
Yeah.
We did a podcast about that as well.
Yeah. So this was very obvious. So this would also give me problems in what was also a problem was my cycle.
Okay.
Yeah. At that time, I was still taking birth control, but my cycle was off, and also, so that was asking for attention.
Yeah. So how did that represent itself, right, in your energy?
I was still taking birth control pill at the time, but I would bleed through the month. So sometimes I would just, or you call it spotting.
Is that more like irregular, you could say?
Yeah.
Very irregular?
Yeah.
Okay.
And birth control pill cools you down. So it makes you colder.
Colder, yeah.
And it's something you take all the time, so it has a big
Yeah, and that's not
effect.
only a temperature effect, right? That's also an energetic effect in the way you feel, the way you express yourself, right? You became cooler and cooler, and yeah.
So here, there's this cold. You can see it in every element because my speaking was slow.
So the way you express yourself is more related to the fire element, right? Yeah.
If people were listening to me, and it's something that belongs to me, but at that time, I would not be able to speak out for myself, to express myself completely. So yeah, that's the fire, to speak out, to be able to say things. And sadness was also something that you would see.
So that represents more of the metal element.
Yeah.
So we have cold in the earth element.
Yeah.
We have sadness in the metal element. We have cold in the water element. We have the irregular cycle in the wood, and then we have a slow expression,
Speech,
you could say, in
Yeah.
speech and how you feel in the fire element.
Yeah.
But where does it start? Where does this start, right? This imbalance or this...
Well, where does it start? That's difficult to pinpoint.
Yeah.
Where does it start? Because it can start with emotions, not being from an early age, where you go to school and you hear all these things, and you start to feel not fitting in and not being worthy.
So it's a result of, unconscious programming,
Yeah.
a lot of that, right?
Yeah.
Underlying things that might not even be yours, right? But it's the way you behave, and that sort of decides what you eat, how, the birth control pill, how you take your breakfast, whatever, right? Yeah.
Another thing that was here, skin problems.
Also related to the metal element.
Yeah.
Because
And
there's,
why
the
do
lungs
I
and-
say this?
Yeah.
Because when you said, it's unconscious, how old are you? And you go to a doctor, you have skin problems, and you get a birth control pill.
Wow, yeah.
And you just think, okay, it's a doctor. I'm gonna do it because
Yeah,
I don't want those skin
doctor knows
problems.
best.
Yeah.
Your parents are like also most likely like, oh yeah, give her
Yeah.
that pill because she's getting to
Yeah.
that age. So
Yeah.
yeah, that helps.
So, but this will give you another problem with, am I worthy? Because it shows. And so you get into this thing, and I was trying to eat healthy, but you're eating cold. I was eating the cold stuff because I was going after a diet that you would see in the magazines with
Yogurts,
yogurt,
fruits, mueslis, things like that.
Salads, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, there's this external influence which makes you think that you're doing the right thing because it adds up to a healthy lifestyle. But in fact, what's happening? It's just it's colder.
And focus was off.
Okay, yeah. I can imagine,
What I noticed with myself was that I got less and less focus.
Okay, and so what did you write that with the earth element? Because that has to do with the digestion?
Yeah, exactly. So what it says is that earth element, if that's out of balance, your focus will get less.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. We all recognize this, right? You've eaten bad, and the next day you're like, there's like a hangover, you could say, right?
And also, let me tell you about, I was not on my path. Like on some levels, I was very definitely I was, but on like career-wise, if you would call it that way, I was not really happy. Well, that's to do with this line, water, fire. Mm-hmm. I wasn't feeling, I wasn't able to step up for myself. So I was just earning my living. I was not looking like, is this really fulfilling for me? Am I really happy with doing this?
And did that lead to like, because you're saying you got more slow in your expression, but did that lead to like an internal frustration that you could feel most of the time? Or was that even also unconscious, you could say?
It was unconscious. Okay. I was not even that frustrated. I was too cold to feel frustrated.
Wow, yeah.
I was probably feeling more sad.
Okay.
So, but my fire was definitely not on. It was not turned on.
No.
It was kind of my, why am I here on this earth? How can I express myself? How can I do good?
It was not really your reality, right?
No.
At that point, you weren't even that aware of that. There was like a choice that you could.
I think, in a way, and I mean, I was still living. I was still doing my thing.
Sure.
But I was more in a survival mode.
Than being aligned, right, with yourself, your higher purpose, things like that. Yeah.
And it all started, I think, with just not really focusing on helping myself.
Yeah.
And that was another thing with the water element, cold, but also right to be here. That was low. I was choosing others over me.
You were serving more others than you were serving yourself, right? Yeah.
And coming from a place of lack instead of abundance.
Yeah, for sure. So if you would sum this up, there's definitely a cold. Yeah. So would that be like a young deficiency, like a lack of young, or is that that's how you would explain it?
Absolutely. Yeah. So what I needed to do was to break into that cycle, because I was feeling that cold every day.
Yeah.
The only times when I felt happier was when I was moving, when I was walking. Yeah. Because we did walk a lot.
Oh yeah.
And when I was dancing, I was doing the ballet at that time, and that really made me glow and happy. And
that's the young influence, of course, movement and warmth. Also, I think on a more on traveling.
Traveling.
that sort of
That's-
movement,
yeah.
right? It's like
Yeah.
not being
Not being stuck.
stuck, but on the move. We would travel lots, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and you would be so happy traveling and
Yeah.
exploring and this
Yeah.
this movement. You were longing for movement, really,
Movement.
right? Yeah,
I was just looking outside of myself for that
For
movement.
that, yeah, yeah.
I could not find it within myself at that time.
Well, it's a hole in your soul somewhere,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah.
there's this big gap, and so what was the turnaround here?
Yeah, I think it was getting a dog.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
And,
Talking about movement
Yeah,
and
and now that I think about it, yes, he definitely got us into motion.
yeah,
But also at that time, you were already training, and we've told this many more times. But you were training, and your teacher gave me a book about food. And for me, I was always interested in food.
You were a foodie, for sure.
I was
Yeah.
always cooking. I was not cooking the right stuff for me. So it started with changing breakfast. That was really the turnaround.
So this book was about these 5 elements
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the traditional Chinese medicine and then
Exactly.
food according to this
Yeah.
system. Very ancient stuff, right?
Yeah.
Built on a lot of,
Yeah.
well, experience, you could say,
Yeah.
handed down generation to generation. And that was really the thing that, you put the stick inside the wheel and it,
Yeah.
and now we're
Yeah.
turning things around. Cool.
So what I was doing, I was definitely going for earth element and warming it up. So
Yeah, so if you break
Adding-
into the cycle, then earth element
yeah,
was the place to start.
yeah, for me it was definitely. So what happened is that earth element, there was more energy coming there. And what it did, it was warming up the whole system little by little.
Little by little. Yeah.
Little by little. And also...
But it didn't it was little by little, but it didn't go slow per se,
No.
right? It had an effect right from the start.
Yeah. And also what I noticed is that I didn't have to wake up during the night to go to the toilet, which meant better sleep.
Better sleep. So better concentration,
Yeah.
better focus.
Yeah.
So that
So focus went up.
went up.
And my cycle, after a while, I said, okay, now I'm eating well. I started to feel better, but I was much more clear on where my energy leaks were. And one of the first things was that I said, I need to do something about my cycle because that was not moving along. It was still off.
Could you say that? I mean, this was like the entry, but because this was better, your focus got better.
Yeah.
That represented itself because
Yeah.
that was not your focus in the beginning, right?
No, it was just something that I did every day, but I didn't really think it did that much.
Right, you were not aware of that.
No, although at a certain point I felt resistance in taking the pill. So I stopped.
I think because of this, with the earth element, right, your sensitivity,
Yeah, it grew.
it grew.
Yeah.
And you got more sensitive for that. It's like something
Yeah.
is still off. And what is that? And that was the cycle,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
So then instead of taking the birth control pill, I ordered like a
It's a
small
device, right?
Device
that measures your temperature. And
Yeah. And what it had as a side result that I was also tracking the moon cycle together with my cycle and the temperature, and I learned so much about myself.
Mhm.
Choosing that it's a small computer almost
yeah.
alarm clock
It's
with
a
computer.
Precision instrument. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I got more focus on my cycle, and it started to improve and improve and improve. So
Yeah.
that had a huge effect.
Well, if we're looking at the water element is before that, right? This gets
Yeah.
stronger. This influence earth element. I mean, yeah.
Something else happened because then I got kind of the energy, the biggest energy leaks in my life. I took them out,
Right.
the kind of on the surface. And then my attention shifted a little bit, and I thought, where am I in my life? And then I thought, I always put others first, but what do I want? Because I'm here in a job that I wasn't really comfortable with it. And I was feeling I have to go there every day, not feeling my happiest. So what can I do to improve my life? So I started to look for other jobs. But I also started to really dive deeper into my ambition. Like, okay, what am I here to do on this planet?
Right. What are your gifts and
Yeah.
what comes out naturally?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know that at the time, but I was really interested in that book that your teacher gave me.
Yeah. 5 Elements Food
And
by
I thought
Barbara Tamelli. Right?
Yeah. And I thought, if I don't know it, I don't really know what I want to do. I do love food. So why not dive deeper into that? And there was like an evening course, 4 days evening course, and just a short one.
Yeah.
Close to our home. And I started to go there, and I got really enthusiastic about the 5 elements, about the
this
5
whole
element
system,
food,
understanding
the system.
yourself better, deeper. Yeah.
Because it really clicked. It kind of, oh, is this what it is all about?
Yeah.
So that was a tremendous shift for me to, and maybe not those 4 days, but then I said, I'm going back to school. I'm going to study again.
Yeah.
Because I want to really change things.
Yeah. Follow this path that, you went on,
Yeah.
and then just deeper and deeper and deeper. Yeah.
So what happened? I chose to really work on water elements,
So
making choices and being courageous, which belongs to water element, to step out and to do something.
It's beyond any fear or doubt
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah, you go.
Yeah, and I made the choice for myself and also, which is funny, to spend a lot of money on myself.
Yeah, yeah. All of it was of course spent on me all this time, right? And I was like, but okay.
No, but just to do that, which was so against my upbringing.
Yeah, allowing yourself this.
Yeah. We would travel a lot, but spending a lot of money just on me to improve me, that was a new one.
Yeah, but you did it, and
I did it.
yeah.
And that, that completely changed again my focus, and it strengthened the whole cycle.
Yeah, you just went and went and went, and it never stops, right?
Yeah.
It's still going.
So these are some of the big things. And also what I did, because I started to study 5 elements, I started to learn about the cycle. I made other choices. I got to know different people. I got to see what other systems to learn. I started to go to the Kate Northrup, her origin. I talked to a lot of other women.
Yeah, you joined
about their
networks
research.
and yeah.
And it kind of went into a roller coaster.
Yeah, from there. Yeah. Course after course and book after book and just studying, growing as a person, as a human being, getting yourself more and more in your path.
Yeah, and together as well, you into your training, I did my training, we exchange. I started to do the Qigong, food. So by making these changes, starting with breakfast, getting my cycle in tune, making choices for
For
myself,
yourself.
that kind of warmed my system up.
Right, yeah.
And it set me free to live another life.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and not only that, our life also, changed together.
Opportunities came on my way.
Yeah.
I got another job.
It's like magic, right? It just unfolds itself. Yeah.
I started my own business. Now we have our
joint business.
Right? Yeah. So it all kind of came together with that first one step. Sometimes I tell people, taking a good breath, even 2 a day, it will strengthen one element.
The metal element in this case.
In this case, metal element, and it will change everything.
Yeah, everything. You can see this with all these arrows here. Everything influences everything.
Yeah.
So strengthen one thing, everything strengthens. And your entry was earth element, and because of this book, I guess, right? And that's where you stepped in. And I guess for a lot of people who came to you and who are coming to you, it's the same thing. I mean, this is one of the best places to start, isn't it? The earth element. Start with digestion first, and then
if you don't know where to start, like some people, it's very obvious.
Yeah.
And then you have to start somewhere else. But if you don't really know where to start, earth element is a good one to start with.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you take out this first layer, because most of the time it's the physical layer to start with, and then you move on and you move on. And first you look at your imbalances, and then you are looking at, and that's where I am now. Who am I as a whole person?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And how do I want to represent myself in the world? How do I want to, what comes through?
What comes
me?
through? Well, by going into this and starting to work with this throughout the years, you've got rid of so much stagnation that sort of represents itself through time, right?
Yeah.
It's I mean, you're looking for it in a certain way, but it also comes looking for you when you go into this this self-discovery and self-releasing, self-balancing process, which is so awesome, right? Yeah. I mean, beautiful. Wow, thanks for sharing this, Didi, with us. And so we'll be doing lots more of this, and also about me. So that's for a next one, right?
Yeah, and, absolutely. Because that's so interesting. You're completely opposite in some ways. And
I think that will help people a lot, seeing these two case studies and these differences. And people might recognize themselves in them. And I hope you do, of course.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Well, that was helpful. And
absolutely.
Like and subscribe.
And see you later.
Okay.
Bye.